are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.
This is Italo once again with another episode of Italo's Black Tag Radio, and I have my guest already, Armond Kinard. Am I pronouncing it right? Armond Kinard?
Yes.
Okay.
Victor. What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I am.
You know.
And that is my answer. How about you?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm healthy, and I'm not in danger. Let's put it that way. Well,
Good.
anyways, that can go many ways, right? But I think we're all in danger, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, you know, we're
However,
live. We got, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. There must be a little bit of a delay, but it's all good. I have to remember. It's radio, Armand. Come on. Get with it.
No, actually, no, I'm interrupting, so I apologize. No, but I wanted to. I was telling Ashton yesterday I was having a show after a little hiatus that I had, and of course the hiatus, as everybody understands, is due to the news and the pandemic and all that. So I decided to pause, as everybody else did, and just observe, you know. And I didn't like what I was seeing, and I still don't like it. And so I decided to, you know what, let me focus on something else. And so that's why I started doing this, because we need to focus on something else. We need to focus on well, I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, you're absolutely right, and thank you for, taking that angle to it to kind of add some light to things and lift people's spirits up. So first thing I want to say is thank you for having me on, and I did take a listen to the show with Ashton, and some pretty compelling stories in that show, especially about her aunt. I think she mentioned really about the mangoes. I was like, wow, that's pretty compelling there.
Right.
But, yeah, this is a great idea to continue and, keep moving forward, my brother. I think the last time I saw you was not too long ago, because I think it was at this event called Busted with Scott Schultz. I think that was the last time I saw you there.
Oh, yeah.
That was
I'm laughing right now
because
because I remember. I remember. I didn't perform, did I? That night. Did I perform that night?
No, you didn't perform. I thought you were going to say something on stage, but then I turned around and you were gone. You were out of there. I think you had something to do, though. I think because he asked you if you were going to go up, but you had some other commitment or whatever. So, but you were ghost. I was like, oh, is he going to say something? Oh, he's gone already. Okay.
Yeah. Long story short, I had somewhere else to be. But no, Busted is great. I love Scott, and nothing personal, Scott. I apologize, but there was another thing going on the same night, and that's why I told him, I'm like, I gotta go. Call me now.
Yeah, I remember.
Everybody.
I remember.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta go, dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and big ups to Mike the Poet for connecting me. I mean, he pretty much has connected me to all of you guys. I mean, there's people listening right now that are probably like, yep, that's how I met him, So, although I'm not sure, because I was even thinking about this before coming on. I was like, okay, where did I exactly meet Victor? Because, you meet so many people, and you start to forget where you meet people, especially when it's, so many. And
I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
Because I remember exactly. Mike the Poet actually was the one that mentioned your name, We actually had I have the interview, and it's actually on the YouTube channel that you already have the link to. And by the way, whoever's listening to this podcast, please subscribe. Please like this make comments and whatever you do. But there is actually a podcast that I had with Mike the Poet. This was back in the day when I was doing poetry a lot, and I'm still kind of doing it. But he mentions, he's like, "Do you know Armond Kinard?" I'm like, "Who? I have no idea who you are, right?" And he's like, "No, yeah, he's a great guest. You should have him next." And I'm like, "Okay." And I think I reached out to you, but for some reason that didn't happen. And then that was one of those times when I was telling Ashton that I was going through a period of time where I was doing poetry every day. Like I was really obsessed with podcasts, and then I stopped. I'm like, you know what? It wasn't going where I wanted to go anymore. And but yeah, you were actually one of the people that Mike the Poet said you have to have Armond. So, and then fast forward to when we actually met. I think it was the saloon, rap saloon.
Oh, the rap saloon with Elena Sakota. Yeah.
Yeah. But before that, I reached out to you because I was also doing auditions for the Oz monologue.
Right.
And you told me.
Right.
Yeah. So now, do you connect the dots?
Yep. I'm seeing the timeline. It's all coming together. And the Oz monologues. Yeah, and then I actually went to the show, and it was a great show, and Hollywood Fringe Festival. I know we've been going through changes this year with things, but it's all coming together in terms of timeline. That it's funny what happens when you're sitting at home. You start reflecting on all these different things that have occurred and putting dots together and man.
Yeah, you go through your
but yeah.
You go through your friends on Facebook. You're like, how do I know this guy? Who the hell?
It gets to that point. You know what? It gets to that point sometimes because I have a pretty dang good memory, but you start stacking up those contacts, and then you're like, okay, you want to trace your steps a little bit because you want to keep track of folks. You want to know, and because eventually when you get off of social media, you're going to have to go back old school, and that's the direction that I may be headed into, funny enough. So, you can't rely on contact lists and all of that. I don't know. I've kind of been going back and forth with it, but I'm definitely going to be getting off of Facebook after this year, but that's a whole nother story. So, I'm making a list of all the contacts and where things began. It's going to take a year for me to do this, so this is kind of I guess kicking me in the butt to stay on point with that.
Right. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but this is one of those things where I rather do not say it, and I'm not going to say it. But I know where things are going, so or they may be going to. My guess is, okay, this is happening. Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, let me just keep it to myself.
It's like Arsenio Hall used to say back in the days: the things that make you go, That's old school reference right there. Arsenio Hall show.
Yeah. Well, remember the song too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, things that make you go. Oh yeah. By the way, speaking of songs, that's actually a pretty dope intro track that you have for the show. I'm over here bobbing my head. I was like, okay, I need to step my game up. I need to, because I'm trying to get in the whole.
I made that myself.
That's you. Oh, there it is. Ding.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. I'll have to give credit to where credit's due because I was playing around with the keyboard, and Seb Brown is the one that was behind me, and he was like, "Play with it, just play with it and see what comes up." And I think the bass that I was doing, that's totally set. I don't know how to play keyboard, but I was playing with the keyboard and the sound effects and everything. So thanks, man. Yeah, it's called.
Well, there it is.
The song is called "Didn't See That Coming."
Okay, no wonder the shout out. That's cool. Okay, yeah. Didn't see that coming.
Coming.
I can dig it. That's what happens, You play around, you play with some paint and you come up with a Picasso, or play with clay. That's the thrill of creativity. Sometimes you just got to play. Next thing you know, you're giving an acceptance speech for the best song of the year or something like that. You just never know how things play out.
Right.
I mean, as you already know, you've already been pushing forward with your creativity, which you should continue to do so. I mean, a shutdown doesn't last forever. This is not a permanent. This is not a means to an end. We are going to get through this, so got to keep the creativity up and kind of use this time to reinvent self.
Right, reset is the word. Reset and rewind. Speaking of reset, rewind, and everything to do with music, I didn't know that you actually used to work for a famous radio station here in LA before, and I'm like, what? You didn't know that?
Yeah.
I just read your bio, and I'm like, oh, Power 106, yay! And I was like, cool. And
that was
stuff you were doing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Taught me a lot, that's for sure. I have to give credit to where credit's due. There's the highs and lows of any job, but I definitely learned a lot while there. And you connect.
And then
with,
it says here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. You had a question you were going to ask?
No. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Oh. Well, I was just going to elaborate on the idea of working with different hip hop artists, or actually not working with them directly, but seeing how the on-air personalities work with them, or interview them rather. And then you go out in the streets and you promote for the radio station, giving away tickets. And, a lot of my former colleagues are in my contacts list, so they know the story. I mean, we're the infantry. You work on the street team. That's what I did, or the flavor unit, as they were called. I don't even know if they're still called that, but you're on the front lines because you're dealing with the listeners, and it's a tough gig. But, you see a lot, you do a lot, you have access to things that you probably wouldn't have access to. It's almost like you're being treated as a celebrity, you're not getting paid like one, and you're not really dealing with it outside of that world. So you get a first-hand look as to what the entertainment industry is about. So it's actually a very good entry-level type position. You learn a lot, even though there were a lot of us that did it for longer than we probably should have. But then there's some that, ended up doing different things within the company. But, it's funny because it happened right as I was coming out of junior college. And, at that point, this was like 1999, people were asking, okay, what college are you going to transfer to? And I kind of let that go. But I would say Power 106 was my 4-year university. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The equivalent.
Yeah.
It kind of felt that way. Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that you learn more, hands-on. And that probably was the best way to learn, is to just go out and do it. And I can imagine it was hard, it was tough, but it was probably fun, right?
Oh yeah. It was a lot of fun, that's for sure. I mean, you get to go. You never have to wait in line for nightclubs. Do a little bit of travel. You have free stuff given to you all the time. Hookups on free meals at certain places. I won't say where. Just a lot of connections and really good energy. And I really enjoyed working with pretty much the majority of the people that work there. I mean, I do have my favorites, but You know, I didn't have any beefs with anybody for the most part. It pretty much got along, and we were a wild bunch, you know. And I was a fly on the wall seeing everything happen. I was pretty excited, you know. Big Boy, I know he's not with Power anymore. He's with 92.3. But I remember when he was actually Big Boy. I mean, I know he still has the name, but, you know, it's his transformation has been
back
pretty
then he was
in
big.
itself. Yeah. I think he had the surgery in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, seeing that evolution and, you know, a lot of the DJs, Friday Night Flavors. I mean, I can go on and on about that, but it was just a really up-close personal look. I was just thinking about this not too long ago because 2006 was my last year there, and I remember because I was watching this interview of LL Cool J on YouTube, and I was just thinking about the last concert that I worked called Powerhouse. It's their yearly concert. I don't even know if they still do that. And LL Cool J has one of the firmest handshakes, man. I mean, it's because, you know, he's very shapely, really good physique, and I remember
I'm like, yep.
he didn't take my hand off, but it was a good shake. And so before he got on stage, it felt like it was about 10 minutes, but it was probably 2 minutes of him getting on the mic saying, and I just heard screams of ladies all throughout Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim.
Panties flying.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the seats were soaked, okay, because this dude was getting ready to light up the stage, man. I mean, it was
not just the ladies.
My highlight. Oh, yeah, not just the ladies. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure there was a whole lot.
Some of the men were like,
Yeah. A whole lot of hormones fluctuating up in Arrowhead Pond, you know. It was definitely a compelling night, that's for sure. But just to see him in action, because, of course, he's definitely one of the most, if not the most respected hip-hop artists in history. But that's what I was thinking about since that was my last year there. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun, man.
So how did you end up into poetry and then acting and directing? I mean, that's a tragic trajectory that you went through, and I mean, you're an author too. You have books that you published, and you know all that stuff.
Well, a book. I mean, I have some poems that people can check out, but in terms of a book, I'm actually working on the Book of Sultry, which I'm setting to complete this year and get it out. But in terms of poetry, man, it goes back to 1996 while attending LA Trade Tech Community College. That's pretty much when the love started. And that was the year Tupac was assassinated. And a year before that, he put out a song called Dear Mama, and I heard it on the radio. I used to walk by the gym over at LA Trade Tech, and I would always hear it on the radio. And I was like, man, he actually wrote a song about his mother. You know, at the time, I had never heard anyone ever do that. I'm pretty sure it had been done before, but maybe not the way that Tupac did it. And so hearing that, I was like, man, okay, maybe I could start expressing myself that way, you know. And so I remember 1996, I was standing on the porch at the apartment where I was living at the time, and there was a full moon that night. And I looked up and I just stared at the moon. For some reason, it was captivating me. And then I went inside and I wrote a poem called Eyes in the Sky. I have not found that poem. I don't know where it is. I really don't know what happened to it, but that was one of the first poems that I had ever written. There was another one before that called The Night, but those were the first two to start things off. And then from there, it was just little dinks and dunks here and there, but I hadn't performed any of this not until about 2010 at a school in Watts. My cousin was working there. And he had, I guess it was a talent show or a poetry show, And that kind of, sparked the whole performance on stage. And then Mike the Poet, who I had already met at the time, but he was doing a show at the Stella Adler Theater in 2011. And it was just a domino effect because he would invite me to perform there. And then that's when I started meeting a lot of cats, Lee Beck, Chris Siders. Oh, my God. It just the list goes on and on. Joe Gardner. I mean, it became a trickle effect of all these different poets back to back to back to back.
Right.
And, so that I
by the way, shout out to Joe Gardner, because I remember him too. He did a show. He did an interview.
Joe Gardner, really good dude.
Yeah.
So that's the evolution right there.
Cool, man. Do you have anything you want to share, like any of those poems that you wrote back then?
Well, let's see.
Or not?
I know. Well, you know what? Let me.
Which one you're going to share?
I don't know if I want to get too profane here. I'll do this one piece. This one is called "Pools of Chemistry."
Okay.
Wet beads of force, eyes on the body, creating a lasting lace, sketching new curves, forming new waves, hard to trace. The breath and the motion all swirled, leaving the pores, they deny restriction. A resource we all share to survive, keeping the skin smooth, keeping the functions. We thrive to understand our purpose, but in these drips we see clear. The name of our existence is pronounced. It is the residue of creation. The drain, the movement, the flow, on the mattress, down to the floor. Slippery and soft, loose and thick, all of this is our chemistry. Our life has formed a pool underneath. The water can talk. We produce these moments captured in fluid. They are the photo stills within us. Now we have a story. Now we have a memory. Now we have left words behind to be read. We have the truth.
Cool. Hey.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Pools of chemistry. Pools of chemistry.
That's what I was picturing. I was picturing that, actually. I could... Not just the essential... twist that you're doing there, but we're made of water, right? So that actually speaks volumes right there. How we're made of water, and so when we're connected in that deep way, in a sexual way or an embrace or whatever it is, our waters are connecting. It's so intense. Like, give me ideas now.
Thank you for allowing me to share on your platform. I've got a question for you, Victor. So, because I'm right now, I'm looking at this beautiful palm tree that's blowing in the wind. Today is a really beautiful day in April. It seems like the rain has cleared a little bit. In one word, what would you say is your feeling right now?
Content.
Yeah, man. It's just one of those kind of things where you sit back and you reflect. There's a lot going on. There's so much happening all at once. We're inundated with reports and updates, but man, you look out a window and you see a palm tree blowing in the wind, and it just reminds you, that palm tree is just doing what it needs to do, soaking in that vitamin D,
Yep. Actually, I have a hive of bees outside.
Ooh.
And they're just going crazy. which makes me realize something. I'm like, okay, what's going on with the bees? It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually hiding in the vents right now. They're hiding in the vents. It's like they're sensing something's happening, right? And they're sensing a shift, and they have to move, and they have to, flee. And where else can they go? I mean, this is not ours. This is not our land, even though we claim it is, right?
Right.
And how selfish are we to think that this is ours? Claim it as this is mine, and you are not allowed to, to roam. And you're not, if you're a bee, you can fly, and you cannot. The tree cannot sway the way it is. We're making our own trees, and that's like, are you serious? Seriously? Those towers are coming up, and it's like you're making them look like trees. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you think of how nature just works, isn't it? Like, what is the perception of a bee? They buzz around, they pollinate the flowers, and how do they view the world, or how does any creature, what is their feeling? I mean, I know, we tend to humanize a lot of these things, and they're not human, but it's interesting when you think of what's going on inside of them, But, yeah, there's some beautiful days, man. That rain cleared up. I think it was supposed to rain sometime this weekend, but, man, I'm just really enjoying the sunlight. Yesterday I was standing outside. My aunt had dropped by for a quick visit, and we're kind of just, of course we're practicing social distancing, but we're enjoying the day. How many times do people really take a moment to enjoy the day? And I think with all the negatives and with all the downs of what's been going on, there sure is a lot of ups, creativity, connections to people that you didn't connect with before. There's definitely a lot of high notes that can be played here, because at least it hasn't gotten to the point to where we go outside and we have to worry about some bombs going off. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's there's a lot of freedom that we have, and I think we've been through a lot. The world has been through a lot, but it's always come out better on the other side. I think we should give ourselves a little bit more credit. I know everyone has an opinion on this, but we've overcome a lot of adversity on all fronts. And, there's always a challenge. There's always a narrative every single year. Obviously, this potentially could be the biggest story, but there's always been light at the end of the tunnel. I know that's cliche, but it's true. So
it's a good cliche.
I'm just very thankful. Yeah, I mean, I'm just very thankful. That's really the conclusive thought on that. Very thankful and very grateful and very blessed to, be in a position that's peaceful, and my family is here. I can speak to them. And, my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, they're still here, and, I talk to them, and, there's a lot of love to be, love is in the air. No,
okay. If you say so.
I know that's kumbaya, but whatever, folks.
No.
Positivity. Come on.
Yeah, get over it. No, I mean, yeah, like you say, it's a cliche and whatever, and people may think. People may think that poetry itself is cliche and it can be corny, and it can be unrealistic, right, or idealistic. And I think it's not.
Yeah.
It's especially now, the poetry that I want to spread sometimes is so negative, and it's so charged, and it's so angry. and it's so loving, and it's so forgiving, and it's not forgiving, and it's how I feel. If I'm a cliche, then so be it. So, sue me, but I want to express the way I want to express, and I don't want to sound like Shakespeare. I don't want to sound like Poe. I don't want to sound like Neruda or anybody else, or Kinard, or Mike the Poet, because I'm not, and I'm neither one of those people. I'm never going to compare myself to those people like I used to. I just have to just say it the way I want to say it, and not regret it, because I regret a lot of things I did in the past. And now looking back, I'm like, well, that wasn't that bad. Like, what was wrong with that? Why was I thinking it was the worst thing I ever wrote, or the worst thing I ever read, when it was just perfect for the time, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to shake people up. I remember, I think it was, I don't know how long ago, we had a little bit of a chat through Messenger, and remember we were talking about that, about being able to express yourself openly without, having fingers pointed in your direction. Don't say this, or, being controlled and censored and all of that stuff. And, sometimes you just have to be a lion, and just dominate, and I think that's actually one of the reasons why, I've kind of been thinking of getting off Facebook, because they tried to censor me a bit, but, that, like I said, that's a whole other thing. But, I think it's just key to just be you and go with your gut, trust your instincts. Sometimes you got to shake people up in order for them to see truths. Shake-ups are needed. We should be at a point where you can agree and you can also disagree and still have that coffee together. It can be done. There's ways of achieving this, and perhaps we have forgotten how to do it. So then here comes an artist like yourself and others who remind us of how that can be done. And it's through poetry that message is given. So poetry is freedom. I feel it's the most freeing form of expression there is, and it can sound like however way you want it to sound. It's an open field.
Well, and I'd like to share something about what I read something. Every I have like a book, or not a book, but I write in notebooks, right? And so I keep all my notebooks since I started doing poetry, and that was about 6 years ago. Anyhow, I picked one of the books that was really full of notes and full of post-its and full of it was really, really flashy, right? I'm like, let me see, like what I was thinking 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I think it was. And I read one of them, which was dedicated to my mother. And I'm not going to share it right now because it's in Spanish. And besides, I don't want to share this today, but I was just shaking my head like, what was I going through? What was I saying, right? Because that person is no longer who I am, and no longer who I think, how I think, is different than I used to think back then. And then Seb was, I was reading this to Seb, and Seb told me, he's like, wow, you said that? You wrote that? I'm like, I know, right? Like, what was I thinking? Where was I that time? But it's interesting, it's, even though it's a shame, it's a shame for me to share what I was writing, because that was my mindset at the time. I thought, what if I hadn't done that? It's like, now I can see clear in black and white, I wrote this, down for a reason, for me to later on revisit and say, what the fuck?
Well, what was the piece about? I mean, you said you don't want to share it. What
the piece was about I wanted to write something nice, very Hallmark key thing to do back in the days to my mother, right? It was like a love poem, and I'm putting air quotes on love right there, and it was just disturbing. What I wrote was just disturbing to me, and so now that I revisit it, I'm like, oh, that was just toxic, wasn't it? It was toxic.
Now you're going to have to share the piece. You got to share the piece. You're giving the audience suspense here. What are you doing?
I know, right?
What are you doing? You can't keep us in suspense like this.
I can. No. What I'm going to do, okay, I'll tell you something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit that poem, and I'm not going to translate it, but I'm going to revisit that poem, and I'm going to update it. How's that?
Well,
because it's not ready. It's totally not ready.
Okay.
I was like, whoa, that was just wrong. But I am doing a show, as you know, called The Mother Trials, and it has to do with that mother and son relationship. So it'll be explored in the show in great length. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Wow. Can they be any more vague?
Hey, I mean, when you say update, that means go back and edit. And I'm like, I don't know if you want to edit it, because then that takes away from your original concept of what you put together. I don't know. But you do what you do. I don't like telling people what to do with their art. But it's kind of like, your true feeling is on that page. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, go with what you had before. I mean, hey, that's my take, but who am I? You know, I'm just me. I'm just Armond, folks.
Right.
The Mother Trials. What's the so you said you have the show coming up. I mean, obviously, depending on how things go forward, what do you have projected in your mind in terms of when that would happen?
Well, yeah, it was going to be part of the Hollywood Fringe again in June, but it's been postponed till October now, so we'll see what happens, right? But yeah, it'll be me actually on stage, so that will be different than what I used to do. You know, before I was just directing. Right. And this time I wanted to tell my story. And, yeah, it'll be me and Kara Lopez-Lee, another storyteller. We'll be doing it. So I don't want to say much more because it's not going to be, you know what I'm saying? It's not there yet. The time is not to promote anything. I don't want to promote anything. But I do want to promote Armond has a channel. See how I did that? I just switched it. No, but before we wrap it up, because it's 5 minutes left, so I wanted to let people know that are listening that if you want to hear more poetry from Armond, he has a channel, and I'm gonna post the link below, because some of the videos, I don't know if you know this, they've been marked inappropriate.
Yes.
So I want to see that one. I'm like, what the hell? I want to see it.
That's YouTube, you know. That's, you know. Yeah. Don't worry, folks. It's not what you think it is. That's just the guidelines they have set. So there you go.
Right. But if you want to hear more, cool. Where can they go to hear the unedited version of your poetry?
Still in progress. I'm trying to be a lot more active on YouTube, so still in progress. This entire spring going into summer, I'll be putting things out. I've actually been putting out a lot more videos than usual, trying to post every week, which is definitely something new for me in the YouTube world. So, just stay tuned, and there will be some stuff cooking. Right now, the material that's available is what's available. I guess for all of you couples out there, or all of you that are enthused with passion, go to the Book of Sultry. Try that out for size. See if you are aroused or motivated.
All right.
That's all I'll say on that.
Yeah. All right. You left us hanging.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Well,
I left you hanging. You left me hanging.
Tuned in on the exciting adventures of XYZ.
Well, the next
No,
episode,
basically same bat time, same bat channel. Imagine Shakespeare, Playboy, Prince, all meshed together. That's the Book of Sultry. We need to turn our passion up too. There's a lot of passion that's being neglected out there, folks. So get that up. But man, Victor, thank you for having me on. This was great.
Yeah, no worries, man. You're always welcome to come by, whenever you publish your book or whenever you have a project. I will post whatever you want me to post on the link below, so people will listen to your other poetry and your adventures at home.
Thank you. Thank you.
For now, hopefully we'll come out of this on the other end, a lot better. That didn't sound right.
Oh yeah, we will. Yeah, we will.
Okay, cool. Well, once again, thank you for coming, and I'm gonna actually do another show pretty soon. Hopefully with music. Musician will be coming, or not coming, but anyways,
nice.
She will play guitar for me live, I hope. If not, we'll find somebody that want to do this. So, but in the meantime, you didn't see this coming, guys.
We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
Gosh, that's swell.